We look at issues of national concern in this entire 3-hour program that comes your way every morning from 6:30. Once again, or in case you've just joined, I'm Robert Kirabo, nyonyintono. Today we are going to be handling issues that really concern us, more so at such a trying moment. We are in 42 days. Of course, we've moved as we try to fight the spread of COVID-19 by fighting crowds or gathering in places which is a fertile ground for COVID-19 spread. And this morning, we're looking at how we can empower communities amidst COVID-19. And I'm honored to have a lady I've known for a long time, that is Juliet Namokasa, as a person who has worked in areas where people are traumatized, where people are going through a very trying moment, and she's been offering that is psycho-social support, how they can best fight depression, stress, trauma, among others. And this has been in Rhino and Changwari refugee camps. She's done a tremendous job there, and I believe her experience is really going to do you great as we look at some of these challenges and how best we can overcome them. Juliet, good morning.
Good morning.
How have you been? It's been some time.
Well, I have been good. God has protected us. Even during this period of COVID-19, we no longer take life for granted. It is God's grace, but also us doing our very best, observing the SOPs that have been given to us. Yes.
Well, I love that God has been faithful to us. I remember you're a born-again Christian, and I am. And many times pastors will tell us, at least if you don't have anything to thank God for, thank him for the gift of oxygen. And one would say, now look at this one. At this time, we understand the importance of that statement. Well, one of the issues that has arisen during COVID-19, right from the first lockdown, and even here, statistics show that issues of domestic violence are something that has gone on a rise. People have not been used to stay together, maybe in confine for a longer time, and now slaps, kicks, psycho harassment, physical harm. And with your experience, how best can we empower communities to ensure that domestic violence is not a thing that dominates these days of lockdown and trying moments we are in?
Thank you so much, the host. The domestic violence, I must say, they begin with understanding us and appreciating us, but also appreciating our spouses. COVID-19 is not the only problem that we have had, but the unique thing about it is that people are spending far much more time together than they have been spending before. One of the key problems that we've had is that because people have not spent time together, they've not learned how to communicate. And right now, even those small things that never used to matter a lot. You see that you wake up in the morning and you have this husband and he's here day in, day out. In communities where we work in per day, I would say that the husband will go to the garden, maybe the wife also goes to the garden, but one of the drivers is the fact that the resources are not enough. One is very important to appreciate that though the resources are not enough, having one another is very, very important. Communicating is very, very important. For us, what we are doing as international aid services is to help these people learn other ways of survival. If today you do not have sufficient funds, how else can you live? But also, how can you work within your means? Because we see that people, because they are not working, now they are spending a little more time on alcohol. And so we are telling them that alcohol is driving gender-based violence. So can you deter from alcohol? Find other means of spending your time. And one of those ways and means is spending time with children, but also learning a few other skills that are around.
The English have a saying that cut a coat according to your cloth. This is a time where people were used, you wake up, there is bread, there is butter, there is milk, and now the head of the home may not be able to provide this. And the woman is wondering, what has happened? Yes, I know, but maybe other people are doing this. How best can people adjust to the current situations of scarcity compared to what previously it has been?
one of the things that I realized is that we are very extravagant, and we don't know how to save for the rainy day, to prepare ourselves for the rainy day. Now, this is the time for us to look at our budgets critically and ask ourselves, must I really spend my money on this? Because, again, working in per day, I learned a few lessons. We asked them that if you got 10,000 shillings, how would you spend it? And then someone would say, because in per day meat was 8,000. So I would buy meat, 8,000, and then buy maize flour. And within no time, all the 10,000 would be gone. And yet if somebody maybe bought beans and saved 1,000 and bought millet for another 2,000, they would be able to eat, have a healthy meal, and then have a tomorrow.
He has nothing to offer. He's Nambayo. So he came to understand that the lady had money hidden somewhere. And maybe it was, I don't know the place, but so the man goes, and every they were eating meat, they're feeding very well, and the wife was wondering, how come these days we are eating very well, even before lockdown we weren't feeding this way? So I don't know, sometimes she went and checked where she was putting her money, and the money was not there. And the husband was like, I said, if you have any money in the house, this is the time to use it, but you kept quiet. So we've been eating very well, I was using your money. And this became a problem. So planning together, sharing, knowing how much you have and how much I have and how can we work together. This is not something that usually is so much in many African families, I must confess.
And for me, that is what really surprises me. I have asked myself how I can trust somebody with my body, and yet I can't trust you with my money. That shows that we do not value me. And for me, I'm deeply in love with me. So before I give you my body, I should be able to give you everything else.
Oh, ladies, I wish you could rephrase that.
For me, before I give you my body, I should be able to give you everything else. So if I am not able to share with you that resource, then the whole marriage game is just a game as it is. It is not real. But also that comes out of the insecurity that people have had over the years. We have been told that, and again growing up in polygamous families, where today the man is with you and tomorrow he goes elsewhere, and women have no security. So they have had to find a hiding place. They have found a rescue, something where they can resort to, and that has been having your own treasure box, something that the man will not know, so that in case anything happens,
it's a shock absorber.
Yes, you can really survive and stand on your own. But if I and my spouse understand each other and we have committed ourselves to love each other, to honor each other, and to share what we have, I should be able to declare what I have so that we can plan together, especially during these days of COVID-19. We need each other more than ever before. If you are there and you are a couple, listen to me, you need each other. What you have should belong to the other, because we are seeing a husband dying and a wife remaining, or a wife dying and the man remaining. And just imagine losing your spouse and you have been leading very different lives. You will not know what he has been having, what he has kept where. Life becomes a real mess, and surviving the trauma of COVID-19 becomes even harder. But if there is an opportunity that I can say has been granted to you, is this moment of lockdown where everything is not enough. Start planning together. We need each other. We need to value one another. I
love that. Doing life together and valuing one another will be able to defeat or fight or reduce incidents of gender-based violence and domestic violence at this particular time of lockdown. Another issue that I want us to address is child neglect and child pregnancy. In the first lockdown, statistics proved that actually we had registered a number of teenage pregnancies. Many girls got pregnant. Also, research proved that there were a lot of child neglect where parents thought they are depressed, some would go to alcohol, the women would find any other. So children were not a priority because of the biting hard times. How best can we respond to such a problem that is addressing us amidst a pandemic?
Again, we need to lay the foundation. And I'm sorry that some of us are laying the foundation at such a time as this when we are in the emergency situation. But it is not too late to begin or to start. In Kitetika, where I stay, recently I realized that we have so many children, so many youth. I had never seen that. What has been happening is that children spend most of their time with the teachers at school. So the parents do not actually parent their children. And now they are having such a challenge. Waking up, you are looking at this child who needs food and you don't have sufficient food, who needs care. These children are work. They need attention.
True.
So the parents, some parents are not really prepared for that. So what happens? I have had some parents calling them Emiyayu, Emsaswangure, your dogs, because they are really tired. Now, someone may not be beating the child, but emotionally you are turning your child into a dog. You are turning this child into a fool. Parents have done that. But if there is a time, again I say it is not too late to start. This is the time for parents to start bonding, create rapport with your children. They have so many questions. Listen to them, give them time. And at the same time, if you do not give them time, there is a man, Mr. X, who is willing to give our children time. What they do, they talk to them, and especially for the girls, the girls need love. They need the attention. They need to feel loved and special. And the men know how to do it. That is how we ended up with over 1,000 pregnancies just last year's lockdown in Pade, where I work. But if we are able to protect, these are our children. They are our treasure. I mean, you may make so much money, but at the end of the day, it is this child whom you've brought forth in this world. Give them time. Talk to them about issues of life. And in Uganda, it is the Sengas who have been doing a lot of talking about sex and the related subjects. No, this time, mother, you are the one with your child. Talk to your child. Fathers, somehow...
For us, we usually hide under the disguise of my role is to provide. If I wake up every morning, I go and ensure there is bread on the table. I pay school fees. There is money to run the home, and even sometimes visitations. I remember when I was in school, the 90% of people that would come to visit during visitation days were mothers. Fathers, what do you need? Show me the list. Then I would give you money. They would give money. So the mummies have to come and visit. So one from me, I provide the school fees. I pay rent if they're still renting. So what do you want from me? That is one umbrella that is shielding us for over a time as men.
Is it any surprise, therefore, that we are lacking or we do not have enough men? Instead, we have boys. Because to become a man is a process. Today we have husbands who are actually boys. And again, that is fueling gender-based violence. Because they were not trained to fit in their positions as men. They were told that as long as you provide, you have done enough. No, our lives are more than that. A life of a boy child constitutes of more than I've had food, I've gone to school. They need a role model. Recently, on Saturday, I was interacting with children in Kitetika here. And I was asking them about their fathers and all that. And this young man said, I love my dad so much because he is very, very hardworking. Before he provides for us, he does everything for us. And actually, before we go to bed, he leads us in prayers. Okay, the mom went to work, he's away. But I looked at this young boy and you'll see confidence in him. He's being shaped into a man by his father. So fathers cannot only provide for the physical needs. No, we need the emotional, we need the mentoring. If anybody should be a hero to his son, it should be the dad. That somebody should wake up and say, my dad is, you know, this huge guy. I know he can defend me. He provides, but also he loves mom. Another person said that I love the way my dad treats my mom. Just you can imagine that.
And actually, there is a saying that when you marry a man, you marry the father. When you marry a woman, you marry the mother. I don't know how true that is, but of course you spend more time in this. So if we have the boy child raised properly, then we are going to have less problems in society, less gender-based violence, and of course responsible generations that will come out of that. But we know these are trying moments, Juliet. I agree that yes, fathers have to do this, but we find a time of now the lockdown that men are not able to work. The women sometimes are equally home, even because some women do work, and now they're also home. So this time of staying together, children don't become a priority. Most of the times, we know when kids get holidays, and I know families watching us, take them to the judges. Now, we can't have inter-district movements. So they're stuck with these children. And that is why a father would wake up, he's thinking, who is going to lend me, borrow me money? Then the mother is like, what am I putting on table? Is this man, that man? And then the kids, no one actually may have the thoughts of the children. Maybe they'll think, what are they going to eat? Or not mind, where are they? Where have they played from? All these. So it's an area that really need to push more emphasis, because it's not normal as it would be for you to have the time to cherish and all that.
Well, and again, I can say everything comes with its own blessings. This is the time for us to go back and start revisiting again our priorities. Now, here in the urban setting, it is even more complex because people are tied into small houses. But even in areas like Pade, Abima, and Dagago, where we work, where people have massive land, they can go and work. This issue of child rearing has been left to the women, and that is unfortunate. We need the men to get in. You are at home together, read stories together. These days I have children who come to my home, and from this very bookstore, I collected a number of them. So we sit and I read stories, and then you get to hear them. We talk about football. So find an area of interest to your children. It is all about priority and value. If you value your child, whatsoever we value, we create time for it. You are at home. Yes, you are thinking about how to eat and how to drink. Let me tell you, these children are very sharp. Actually, if we involve them in the planning, they have great ideas. For me, I have a girl at home. I mean, I just adore her. She has great ideas. She will say, okay, now with that money, we can buy this, this, and the other. It's because I have allowed her to be able to talk, to be part of the planning process at home. So when we don't have much money, she knows how to plan for the little money. And these children whom we have, I'm telling you, they are so, except that they are young, and at times we tend to ignore their ideas because they are young. But if you listen to them, they have brilliant ideas, and they may be able to help you solve some of the dilemmas that you find yourself in. Just give them time, try them out, and you'll be amazed. The king that you have in that little boy and the queen you have.
Well, I love the passion that you speak with at this time of lockdown. Please, we must ensure that we empower one another, empower communities in the times of COVID-19. There are so many advantages amidst this dark crowd. That is, how do you bond, how do you socialize, how do you get to know your children more? But there is also another problem that has also risen, and of course I was looking at a non-governmental organization called it deals with handling alcoholism and reforming people rehabilitation. It's around Zambia, and they said in lockdowns, alcohol consumption raises. We did not ban the sale of alcohol. We banned consuming it in public places. So people now can buy booze, go to their home and drink. Some even sneak in these funny small, and you'll find them that front door is closed, but people are consuming alcohol. Some argue that this is a healing balm. It helps them maybe wash away the stress for a moment. Then by the time you go back home, you're drunk, you sleep, and the next day has come in. So how best do we fight this at this time of COVID-19? Because many people believe it's a remedy maybe to their problems and a temporary relief.
Thank you so much for the question on alcohol. I grew up and my mother used to brew. So that's how she paid school fees for me. And so I didn't know that alcohol was really a very big problem until I saw my brothers drinking themselves silly and getting wasted. But again, I didn't know the magnitude. It is when International Aid Services started her response in Pade in 2008, and we gave farmers oxen, ox plows, expecting them to go out there and be able to till the land. We realized the men as early as 7 a.m. would be drunk.
There's no time for drinking.
And then they would leave the women to go and be the ones to drive these oxen and ox plows. Harvest time, because for them they believe that a woman is a property of the man having paid bride price. That one they told us. So when the harvest time would come, again they would come for the harvest and they would spend it on alcohol. We realized that alcohol was a major obstacle to economic development. So then we went in there and we started sensitizing them about alcohol harm, the dangers that are related to it. And I'm telling you, every day I spend talking about alcohol, learning more about alcohol, I realize that it is such a bad, negative coping strategy. So for those who think that during this lockdown, they can go in and drink more and more to forget, to solve their problems. No, actually you go to bed thinking you have solved your problem only to wake up to the reality of it. But unfortunately, the little money that you would have spent to solve problems at home, you end up, allow me to say, selfishly spending it on yourself alone to solve your problems. Because you have your wife, she also needs to know that there is food at home. So for you, when you go and you come back drunk and then you sleep, to whom will this woman turn to when the children are asking for food? So we cannot resort to alcohol during this period of time. Alcohol abuse is not an answer. And we know that when these people are drunk, I'm telling you, I keep telling everybody that anything in a skirt becomes a woman. And this is why we see that there is high level of child abuse during this period of time. People drink, they and get drunk, and then they realize that, I mean, they lose self-control, and any girl who passes their eye becomes a woman they can indulge with, which is not really right. We have seen so many girls being raped and others being defiled, but also some parents giving their own daughters to some of their colleagues they drink with.
Colleaguement. Sometimes people call them a classmate of evening lessons. So they do the same course. That is alcoholism.
Alcoholism. So they surrender their girls, and these girls get pregnant.
Yes.
You know, at that point, because of alcohol, a girl's somehow destiny is redefined simply because somebody was irresponsible. Maybe the father was irresponsible. And this is not just about those who take alcohol. In Pade where we stay, alcohol is sold from within the houses. Okay, alcohol is within the houses, and at times the girls who are told you go and serve this one and you go and serve the other one, and as they serve, you know, some of the men, their hands become uncontrollable. Then they start touching these girls, and some of them actually promise them as little as 1,000 shillings. And for some of those girls, 1,000 shillings, a bottle of soda, my oh my,
they're young, naive, and all that.
It is a whole world, and before you know, the father of your daughter's child is actually the man you've been drinking with. And this man has 4 wives and does not have the capacity to take charge of the 4. And now he has added on your daughter, who is the 5th. That should not be. Alcohol abuse and use during this period of time, if it were possible, I would say let the bars be closed, because there are other ways we can. Bars
are already closed. Maybe the sale of alcohol at such a time being criminalized, because we're still sneaking. As long as it is a commodity on shelves of supermarket elsewhere, and people can access it and they are free to drink at their own convenience, as long as not in a public place for public gatherings, then we still have this challenge. But like Julie has put it, it's not a healing balm, it's not a stress reliever. Actually, it just creates more. And at the time of COVID-19, where terms and conditions of how people used to earn are a bit tight, then you should save that money for something reasonable, beneficial. You call it being selfish?
Yeah, it is really being selfish, because you are spending all, you are saying you have little, and the little you have, instead of sharing it with a family, you are buying a bottle of beer. When we were in Pade, we were looking at these children who were not going to school those days, and we were asking them, what is the problem? And they would tell us the problem is that our parents cannot afford PTA, Parents Teachers Association Fund. And we asked them how much, they would say 5,000. So then we went to the parents and asked them, how much is a bottle of beer? They told us 3,000, 2,500. And we asked them, how much beer do you take in a day? 2, 3, or 4. And then you realize that actually with 10,000,
he's drinking the PTA.
He's drinking the PTA. Now, during this COVID period, you are drinking the posho, you are drinking the beans, you are drinking, because people are buying a lot of Panadols today, because even the medicine is not readily available everywhere. They are drinking the Panadols, they are drinking all the salt, and at home, the women are struggling. But I'm talking about the women. In a district like Abim, for some years, the women were even worse revelers, if I may put it that way, than men. So this problem is not just with the men, but also some women, as a way again of coping with all the challenges in their homes, have also resorted to using, which worsens the situation, because now when the mother is drunk,
to the neighborhood. And what do they find in the neighborhood? A potential
man with open arms to solve the problem temporarily while creating more problems. And that's why International Aid Services is saying, if you are there and you're a community leader, take charge, be on surveillance, look out, don't allow people to gather and abuse or use alcohol.
Well, we're still looking at how we can cope in this lockdown and how we can empower communities amidst COVID-19. There's so much that is happening, and we understand each Ugandan, to a certain extent, things are not as normal because of what the pandemic has done to our country, and of course internationally, these are trying times. Now we go back to family level. How best can you as a couple, as a family, move through this trying moment? What should you avoid? What should be a no-go zone for you to ensure that there is peace, there is development, and there is care for one another, which we need more at this particular time? Julie, I want us also to look at issues of sanitation and hygiene at this time, where we know one of the ways of fighting COVID-19 is good hygiene. You have your mask, you sanitize, surfaces are safe for people, and of course, somewhere, somehow, this has not been a priority of many people.
Thank you so much. Hygiene and sanitation is such a challenge. But as we say, charity begins at home. In our homes, even minus COVID-19, we have seen such sicknesses like diarrhea, dysentery, cholera, typhoid, name it. And it's because of our poor hygiene and sanitation conditions. I love the way the Baganda call the latrine. They call it kabuyonjo, despite the fact that what we deposit there is not clean, but they call it kabuyonjo. It is a place of cleanliness. But I'm telling you, when you go to many of these homes, can I say in the rural areas, but also in the urban areas, kabuyonjo is not kabuyonjo. Instead, it is kabujama. Kabuchafu, we have, because what we deposit there is very filthy, is very dirty, so we have some of us have chosen to leave the environment around that filthy. Now, in some of these communities, again, they don't believe in the use of latrines. I was shocked when we went to some of those places in Karamoja as international aid services, and we're talking about you must have a latrine, you must have this. They told us, can I share the same latrine with my in-law? If I get my in-law, they would rather ease themselves in the bush. In other words, they're depositing everything there, but then the fly will go there, pick part of the deposits, come and land on the cold food, and tomorrow we'll have typhoid. So we have some of those problems. And as international
just reminding me when I was in Karamoja under NUSAF, and one of the projects was looking at constructing pit latrines. So as journalists, we move around, and I noticed that when I went to these areas, they're very, very clean. So I asked one of the leaders, and I'm wondering, how come these people are very clean, more than even the people in Kampala? He told me, brother, for us we believe that when a woman goes to a pit latrine, she may not give birth. So people are just not using them. Just move a short distance if you see a bush and you'll find out where it is. So sometimes these funny beliefs are a deterrent to success in terms of pushing forward good hygiene and sanitation.
Yes. And so when we realized that as international aid services, we said we will be handling mindset transformation, because the way a man thinks in his heart, so he is. Even if we tell them use latrines, if they do not believe in the value of latrines, and if they have cultural beliefs and practices which are against the use of latrines, they will not use them. So we have been engaging communities. They sit. We developed a tool. We call it a tool for accelerated community transformation, where people sit and they're supposed to critique their own cultural beliefs and practices and see those aspects in their culture which are pro-development, but also look at those other aspects which are anti-development, and then they see how to move about these cultures and some of these practices. I was talking to some staff members in Pade just last week, and I was telling them, now here we are, we have this new second wave. We need to sensitize communities more and more about hand washing. And she said, you know what? When the first wave cooled down, many people abandoned the hand washing practice. So they have the hand washing facilities there. Some of them have even put in water, but they don't use them. They only have the facilities in place just for the sake of the leaders, and that is a problem. That's why we need mindset transformation. And we are talking about these masks. They are also going to be another source of sickness, because people wear masks for a whole week, but you find that they are not washing them. Somebody uses the same mask over and over again. So as international aid services, what we are doing is we are sensitizing communities, telling them, you cannot have such practices. Please wash your hands, and you need soap, not just water.
Not just water. Well, Juliet, in the interest of time, I'm seeing my colleague ready to take us through sports updates, so much regarding Euro 2020 and of course more regarding. But let me have your final remarks regarding how best communities can cope at this trying moment of COVID-19.
Dear viewers, COVID-19 is going to be here for a very short time, I believe, but our lives will continue. So can we learn to communicate with each other? Also very, very important, let us follow the SOPs. The Ministry of Health and the government have done their best to tell us to follow the SOPs. Life is precious, life is valuable, and it is your responsibility to safeguard it, because tomorrow is going to be there, and we want to enter tomorrow when you are part of it. May God bless you as you protect yourself and as you do your best to protect yourself and your family.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Juliet. It has been a very informative discussion on how best we can cope well, let's learn to live and do life together for the couples, for families. Let's desist from alcohol, and above all, let's prioritize children. COVID will go, but what will happen? Or will adopt to living with COVID-19 at one point in time, either vaccination, whatever will have happened. But do not lose your kids because you thought you're too busy, you're too depressed, you're too stressed to have time for your children. This is the time to be a good parent than never before, because you have time on your fingertips that you didn't have previously. Thank you so much, Juliet Namukasa, who is the Country Director, International Aid Services Uganda, for having phone time and discuss with us how best we can cope in this time. Well, I'll leave you with Priscilla Naroga. Yes, she's going to be